Hey everyone, welcome back to Audionovel. Today, I'm uploading a new novel. The novel is called Library of Heaven's Path. First, let's hear about the novel. Synopsis. Traversing into another world, Zhang Xuan finds himself becoming an honorable teacher. Along with his transcension, a mysterious library appears in his mind. As long as it is something he has seen, regardless of whether it is a human or an object, a book on its weaknesses will be automatically compiled in the library. Thus, he becomes formidable. Monarch Zhuoyang, why do you detest wearing your underwear so much? As an emperor, can't you pay a little more attention to your image? Fairy Linglong, you can always look for me if you find yourself unable to sleep at night. I am skilled in lullabies. And you, demon Monarch Qiankun. Can you cut down on the garlic? Are you trying to kill me with that stench? This is an incredible story about teachers and students, grooming and guiding the greatest experts in the world. Chapter 1, Swindler. Swindler. Great swindler. An enraged roar can be heard and the sound of footsteps on a blue-stained pavement by someone escaping could be heard. Zhang Xuan stretches out his both hands helpless. I am not a swindler, I am a teacher of the academy. I only want to make you my student. Besides that, do you have to add a grade while saying that I am a swindler? You make it sound as though I am some unpardonable criminal. After he finishes his muttering, he recalls the words of the director, this is the 17th one already. If I still fail to find a student today, I would have to pack up and leave tomorrow. Zhang Xuan isn't a person from this world, but an ordinary librarian of a high school. He only remembers the blazing flames and then. There is no more then. When he woke up, he was already in this world. This world is just like the ones depicted in novels, the path of martial arts is respected and the strong reigns. Initially, he thought that after traversing, he would become a useless talent and end up rejected by his fiancée. Afterward, he would strike back, slapping them in their face, and his life would proceed smoothly from then on. Looks like he had overthought it. After arriving here, he realized that he isn't a student but a teacher. The most pathetic teacher in the entire academy. The lectures of other people are always overflowing with people, that many people who find themselves without seats. On the other hand, there isn't a single person in his class. It was difficult for him to rope in a few students, but they ended up labeling him as a swindler and escaped. As for the reason, ignoring the fact that the fellow whose body got took over by him was the weakest teacher in the entire campus and his inability to pick out talents, the crux of it all is that he even misguided a student, causing his cultivation to go berserk. This was just like having a dead patient under your record. His reputation went down and he was despised by everyone else. Even the new students chose to stay away from him, afraid that they would end up in the same situation if they were to fall into his clutches. A bad track record and his lack of students caused him to be ranked as the first from the bottom in the entire academy for the teacher qualification examination last year. He even got the first and only 0 marks in the entire history of the academy. Depressed, he used alcohol to drown his sorrows. In the end, just as he wished, he died, providing an opportunity for Zhang Xuan to leap over. At the start of a new term, the academy issued an ultimatum to him. If he were to be unable to recruit a single student to his lessons by this year, his qualifications as a teacher would be revoked. Today, there were already 17 new students who passed by his classroom. In the end, the moment they heard his name, every one of them ran away, as though a young lady meeting a strange uncle, running as far as their feet could take them. Looks like I have to look for a way to coax one of them. As he is still thinking about how he should rope someone in, he sees the head of a girl with a dazed expression at the entrance. May I ask if this is the classroom of teacher Lu Xuan? She has a cute and elegant appearance, not to mention her sweet voice. Teacher Lu Xuan is the academy's star teacher. His lessons are always packed and innumerable people chose to come to the academy due to his fame. I will take her. Seeing someone walking into his trap, Zhang Xuan's eyes light up. Recalling all kinds of methods to act cool from his previous life, he sits quietly on his chair and poses like an enlightened expert. You want to become his student? The young girl nods her head furiously as admiration appears in her pitch-black pupils. I have heard that teacher Lu Xuan is the most incredible teacher in Hongshan Academy. All of the students he taught are extraordinary and joining his class is an honor in itself. Rumors may not reflect the truth. Teachers are just like shoes, what is important is whether it fits or not. No matter how well he lectures, if the theories are not suited to the skills you are practicing, not only will you find it hard to advance, your strength might even regress. Even if a teacher isn't well known, if his theories harmonize with yours, you can still improve swiftly and your cultivation will rise exponentially. Is that so? I have also heard my elder brother saying such words before. The young girl ponders for a moment, uncertainty appearing in her beautiful eyes. However, I don't know what kind of lessons would suit me. Seeing that she is on the hook, Zhang Xuan's eyes light up. He hesitates for a moment as great sages like Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels flashes through one after another in his mind. He feigns a look of difficulty and says, our meeting could be considered as destiny as well. How about this? I am also a teacher of this academy. I will help you take a look at your bones, talents and personality and recommend a suitable teacher for you. Then I will trouble you, mister. She didn't expect that a teacher she met so casually would be so accommodating. The girl immediately nods her excitedly. Display your cultivation first. Zhang Xuan's eyes are half open, putting on a look as though this doesn't bother him in any way. Yes. In a short moment, the entire room whistles from the shockwave of her punch. Wave after wave of spiritual energy swims around the body of the girl. For her spiritual energy to gather instead of dispersing, not to mention powerful but hidden, this shows that she has a great foundation. Alright, I can tell that you have been training diligently and arduously. Your foundations are solid and your talent is top-notch. You are a hard-to-come-by genius. After she finishes a punching routine, Zhang Xuan nods his head in satisfaction. He is imitating the fortune tellers from Earth. His words are slippery with a great range of interpretation. The ones listening are unable to find a flaw with his words and instead, they will be shocked by how accurate his comments are. Especially the strength on your legs, they are just like a calling dragon. Every movement is just like the raging waters, full of strength. As long as you were to train hard in the future, you would surely have a bright future. Teacher, my leg is injured. The physician said that it is as good as crippled. The girl interrupts his monologue with a look of suspicion in his eyes. Injured. Zhang Xuan's face turns red. However, he is thick-skinned, so others can't really tell. He continues to bullshit. Do you think that I can't tell? I knew it from the moment you exerted your strength. The reason why I said it is because through destruction will there be rebirth. Although your leg is injured, you were unexpectedly blessed with an opportunity that no one else expected. As long as you grasp it properly, your legwork will become your greatest strength. Others can only look on with envy. Anyway, he is just coaxing her. If he can convince her with bullshit, he will bullshit. The important thing is to get a disciple over to him first. Opportunity? Teacher, what kind of opportunity is it? The girl's eyes lit up. After her leg was injured, she had always felt that she was inferior to others, causing her to have low self-esteem. She didn't expect to stumble on a fortune due to such a mishap. This opportunity can allow you to soar to the top in one go. It won't be difficult for you to become the top of the freshmen. After all, your talents are extraordinary, a genius that has yet to appear in history. However, Zhang Xuan's words go on and on. All he is short of now is to take out a Buddha's palm manual. TL, Kung Fu Hustle. Upon hearing that she is a genius capable of becoming the first among the freshmen, the girl's face blushes furiously and continues questioning, however what? However, Zhang Xuan sighs. It is a sigh lamenting that a talent is about to be buried in dirt. The teachers who are able to spot such an opportunity don't number many in this academy. Including me, there are only 3. The other 2 has already stopped accepting students from 3 years ago, so it would be difficult for me to ask them as well. Stopped accepting students? Initially, the girl had high hopes for it, but after hearing those words, her expression turns gloomy. Then, she seems to recall something suddenly and says, they aren't accepting students but teacher, are you accepting? Of course I am. Just that, you can also tell, I am indifferent to fame and fortune and I don't have much time to spare as well. A look of difficulty appears on Zhang Xuan's face. If it isn't a good jade, I won't accept it easily even if our paths cross. Putong. Before he can finish his words, the girl kneels onto the floor and bows, I know that Mr. is noble, but please accept me as your student. I will train diligently so as to not embarrass you. A surge of joy rushes into Zhang Xuan's heart, though his face still maintains a look of difficulty. There is destiny between us, just that. You can also tell, I like peace. As your student, I promise to never interrupt teacher unless it is an emergency. Seeing that he is a little unwilling, the girl immediately nods her head with a sincere look on her face. I don't have many students, so the resources I have cannot be compared to other teachers. Also, you might be criticized by others. Zhang Xuan continues. Is that so? I have heard that training resources are important. The girl hesitates. The amount of resources a teacher claims from the academy is related to the number of his students, their results and numerous other factors. Without sufficient resources, it is difficult to advance ahead in one's cultivation. Cough cough, I only said that to test you. Since you are determined and sincere in acknowledging me as your master, I will reluctantly accept you. Looking at her signs of hesitation, Zhang Xuan interrupts her and says, your identity card. So quickly. She didn't expect that the teacher would change his face as quickly as flipping the page of a book. The girl is slightly surprised as she grasps the token passed over by Zhang Xuan which represents his identity. Just as she is considering whether she should affirm the relationship, she sees the reticent teacher Zhang pull her hand over and cuts it with a sharp dagger. A drop of blood falls on the jade token. When light flashes. Ah. The girl is a little dumbfounded. Didn't the teacher say that he has to consider carefully about it? Indifferent to fame and fortune, was it? Why is his movement so fast and even the dagger was prepared beforehand? From now on, you are my student. After the verification through blood, Zhang Xuan heaves a sigh of relief. Then, he continues to assume his image as an unworldly expert. What is your name? Your F4 write stories on cm. Teacher, I am called Wang Yang. Knowing that her decision cannot be revoked, the girl doesn't say anything else and nods her head. And take your identity token to claim your bedding and your books. Also, look for your lodging while you are at it. We shall begin lessons tomorrow. Meet me here. Zhang Xuan flicks his hand. Yes. Wang Ying nods her head and turns around to leave. Whew. I have successfully coaxed one in. After confirming that she is his student, Zhang Xuan heaves a sigh of relief and smiles. It really isn't an easy task. If it wasn't for the techniques in acting cool that he learned from the internet, it would be hard for him to succeed today. With one student, he will be able to avoid the misfortune of being expelled. Zhang Xuan feels the burden on his heart disappearing. In a moment, his spirit feels much more relaxed. The obsession that was lingering in his brain disappears gradually. Rest easy, now that I am in your body, I will live properly in your stead. The previous Zhang Xuan died because he was unable to recruit students, so he held strong regrets in this world. Now that there is a student under him, his final obsession disappears. At this moment, Zhang Xuan could be considered to finally gain complete control over this body. Boom! After gaining full control of this body, Zhang Xuan wants to continue coaxing a few more students over. However, he suddenly feels a tremor in his head as he hears the sound of ancient bells striking in his head. The heaven and earth are callous, treating all beings like dogs. The sun sets and the moon wanes, an imperfection appears in the heaven and earth. Boom! All kind of profound adages shocked him giddy. Following which, a giant palace appears before him in his head. On it, 4 words glow brightly. Library of Heaven's Path. Opening the door, he walks in. Countless bookshelves stand tall and mighty with all kinds of books on them. The end can't be seen at a single glance. Could this be the gift pack for transcenders? A library? Damn it, I was a librarian my previous life. It can't be that I would still be the same in this world as well. The gift packs of others are old grandfathers, systems or all kinds of overpowered items. Yet, my gift pack is a library? Zhang Xuan could feel the sight before him turning dark and he almost faints. Library? For what? It can't be that in my future fights when other people are throwing swords at me, I would be throwing books? Let me see what books are those. Feeling helpless, Zhang Xuan reaches out to grab a book from a bookshelf so as to determine the purpose of this library. However, when he stretches out, his hand passes through the bookshelf, causing him to grab thin air. Are you playing with me? Giving me a library yet preventing me from grabbing and reading any book, what exactly do you want? Zhang Xuan is speechless. An urge to cry overwhelms him but no tears fall out. TL note, Emperor Haoshan is a supreme deity of the Ha tribe who governs everything under the teachings of Confucianism. Chapter 2, Shameless. After looking around for a while longer, Zhang Xuan realizes that all of the books in the library are just like the moon reflected in the water, it is impossible to retrieve them from the shelves. Thus, he loses interest and his consciousness retreats from his mind. Time to eat lunch. After lunch, I will think of a way to coax another 2 more. Looking out the window, it seems to be around noon. Out of the 18 students who came by in the morning, he only managed to get one of them to join him. His acceptance rate is really quite low. He can't continue at this pace in the afternoon. No matter what, he is a transcender. If he is unable to dupe those from the ancient era, how could he proudly say that he came from a world in the age of information? Stretching his back, he walks out of the lecture hall towards the canteen. Just like the high schools from his previous life, the Hongshan Academy's canteen is rather large. Its size is sufficient to allow more than 10,000 students eat in it concurrently. After successfully recruiting a student, his mood lifted. Thus, he orders a few more side dishes and sits by the corner to enjoy his meal. Isn't that Teacher Zhang? While he is eating happily, a voice sounds out. Lifting his head, he sees a young man gazing at him with a smiling face. His face didn't have a hint of warmth and instead, he emits the feeling of a fake smile. Teacher Xiao? Zhang Xuan recognizes him. Teacher Xiao's full name is Xiao Xiong. He joined the academy along with him. He likes to compare achievements with others and make use of it as a tool to inflate his ego. The previous owner of the body couldn't take insults, that's why he drank to his death. This fellow definitely played a big role in exerting such pressure on him. Today, the freshmen are reporting at the academy to choose their teachers. How is your recruitment going? Judging by how you still have the mood to be eating here, it should be not bad. Look, these are the students that I have recruited, a total of 12 of them. I am here to bring them for a meal before stationing them at their living quarters. Teacher Xiao has a look of superiority on his face. He points to the back as he brags openly. No doubts about it, he is here to brag. There isn't any grudge between Zhang Xuan and him. However, since they came into the academy at the same time, it is hard to avoid comparisons between the two of them. Thus, he often made use of him to make himself feel superior. A bunch of youths follows behind him. Every of them has a lively expression on their face as they are curious about the new things here. Gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you all. This is Teacher Zhang, a celebrity in our academy. He is the very first teacher to score a 0 in the teacher qualification examination since the inception of our academy. He created history. Teacher Xiao introduces to the crowd. 0 marks in the teacher qualification examination? I have heard of it when I was on the way here. A student he taught went into a frenzy and was almost crippled. I have heard of it as well. Quite a few people have told me before I came to not choose him as my teacher. Otherwise, not only will I not be able to cultivate, it is also equal to suicide. I didn't expect that he would be the one. To think that he has such a kind face. Hearing Xiao Xiong's introduction, a commotion breaks out among the students. There are many elements to the teacher qualification examination and a total score will be given based on the evaluation of the various aspects of it. The students' examination results also play a part in it as well. As long as the teacher has some students, there would bound to be a result. Obtaining 0 marks could be considered as making history. Are you done with your introduction? Towards the commotion of the crowd, Zhang Xuan does not get angry. The one who scored a 0 is the previous Zhang Xuan, what does it have to do with him? However, even if he isn't really angry, he is still quite annoyed by the actions of this teacher Xiao who raises his own standing by beating others down. He waves his hand and says, after you are done with your introduction, you can scram. Don't interrupt my meal here. Xiao Xiong didn't expect that this fellow wouldn't feel embarrassed even when his history is revealed. He was even asked to scram away. Xiao Xiong's face darkens. He shakes his hand and with the prestige of a teacher, he says, for you to score 0 points in the teacher qualification examination, you have broken the academy's record. Do you not have a sense of shame? Shame? Why should I feel ashamed? You have already said it yourself, I have broken the record and became a famous person. All of the freshmen know who I am. However, what about you? Zhang Xuan raises his hand and points towards the students behind Zhang Xuan's back. How much did you score in the examination? Do they know? Before they even came to the academy, do they know who you are? If it wasn't for your insistence to the extent that you even treated them to food, do you think they will acknowledge you as their teacher? To remain unknown as a teacher, you still dare to brag before me. What the hell are you so proud of? GA. If other people were to score 0 in their teacher qualification examination, their head would definitely remain lowered when they are outside for fear of disgracing themselves. However, this fellow was the direct opposite. He was gleeful about it and held his head up high because of it. Instead, he despises Xiao Xiong for not scoring a 0. Xiao Xiong is about to explode. His skin is really too thick. The crux of it is, with this kind of results, how can you still be so proud of yourself? The students behind him stare at one another, at a loss of what to do. What about his reputation, his reputation? This teacher, isn't he too shameful? Shame? Thick-skinned? What a joke. In the era that Zhang Xuan lived in order to become famous, some celebrities did all kinds of shameful deeds. Whatever you could think of, nude photos and fake news, they don't get embarrassed doing these kinds of stuff. Even if he were to score 0 marks for his teacher qualification examination, it doesn't mean a thing compared to the things that those people did. Xiao Xiong's face turns red. The main job of a teacher is still teaching. Today, I will not squabble with you. Let's cross blows only after you get a student. Then, we'll see whose student is more skilled. After saying those words, he turns around to leave. At this point, the conversation between a male and female could be heard behind him. That teacher is really not bad. His personality is also good. The voice of a dazed girl sounds out. Hesitation could be heard in her tone. Second young mistress, listen to my words. Before we headed out, young master has already entrusted me to bring you to teacher Lu Xuan. However, you refused to listen to me. You even shook me off. Ignoring that, you chose him out of everyone else. The voice of an old man sounds out. A tinge of frustration could be heard in his tone. That teacher is not as bad as you said. He is a good person. He promised to guide me. He said that, if I were to train properly, I can become the top of the cohort. Hesitation could still be heard in the voice of the female. You still want to be the top of the cohort. If you were to study under him, it is already a blessing for your cultivation to not go berserk. Second young mistress, do you know who he is? He is the most famous useless teacher in the entire academy. He scored a 0 the last teacher qualification examination. My little ancestor, you better hurry up and withdraw your application, otherwise young master would kill me if he were to hear of this. A pleading tone appears in the voice of the old man. Big brother. Hearing the old man talk about the young master, the little girl starts to get frightened. Her face distorts and she falls into a dilemma. Hearing those words, the leaving Xiao Xiong's eyes light up as he smiles towards the eating Zhang Xuan. Teacher Zhang, could this young lady be the student you just recruited? Haha, looks like it isn't going well for you. She seems to be intending to withdraw as your student. Teachers can pick students and similarly, students can also pick their teachers. If a student finds their teacher inappropriate for them, they can return the token given to them. Xiao Xiong's loud voice attracts quite a bit of attention. The mistress and servant duo who were discussing gaze over as well. Second young mistress, is he the teacher you just acknowledged? The old man's gaze falls on Zhang Xuan. Yes. The young girl nods her head. The old man immediately stands up and walks over to Zhang Xuan. Teacher Zhang, the young mistress of our family has decided to withdraw from your lessons. Old Liu. She didn't expect the old man's movements to be so quick. The girl's face flushes red and she hurries over. She looks at Zhang Xuan with a look of apology and says, Teacher, She is the student Zhang Xuan just accepted, Wang Ying. Wang Ying, you know that I do not accept students. The reason why I accepted you is because our paths crossed. Why do you want to withdraw and give up on such a good opportunity? Do you know how many people desire to become my student, but I refused them? Of course, Zhang Xuan will not allow her, who he coaxed with much difficulty, to escape. Thus, he assumes a very elderly tone. What the hell? Hearing his words, the ones in the surroundings who are aware of his background feel their vision turning dark and they almost fainted. Big brother, can you at least have a sense of shame? What do you mean by refusing to accept students, paths crossing and many people desiring to be your student? You are obviously the one who can't recruit any student. This isn't. Under his interrogation, Wang Ying immediately waves her hand but before she could finish her words, someone interrupts her. Yes. Seeing how indecisive his second young mistress is, the old man Uncle Liu steps forward. Teacher Zhang, our family's second young mistress has decided to withdraw from your class. She finds it hard to verbalize it out. I will be depending on you for the withdrawal procedures. Withdraw. Zhang Xuan's eyelids twitch. You have to consider it properly. You will leave behind a bad reputation from withdrawing from a teacher's class. It will be hard other teachers to accept you. Are you going to ruin your young mistress' life just because of your stubbornness? Can you take responsibility? This. Old Leo freezes. Students can withdraw their applications. However, this would be an insult to the teacher. Besides, if you are able to abandon this one, it means you are also able to abandon another one. Normally, this kind of student with bad track record will not be accepted by the other teachers. After all, for someone who has insulted the prestige of the teachers, no one would be willing to accept that kind of students. Besides, accepting the student would mean insulting the teacher to his face. Everyone are colleagues, so it isn't wise for them to offend their peers over a student. Training in the academy, a student can be considered to be ruined if they are unable to find a teacher. Find new stories on novelbin.com. Old Leo was still quite determined a while ago. However, hearing his words, he is put in a difficult position. After all, he is just a servant. If the second young mistress's future were to be delayed over this, he is unable to bear the consequences. Rest easy, your family's second young mistress has good talent. I will teach her well, she will definitely score well. Seeing that old Liu is wavering, Zhang Xuan starts to coax him as well. What a joke, how could he allow a cooked duck to fly away? Hold it right there, who says that no teacher would dare to accept her? Young lady, if you were to withdraw from this teacher here, I will immediately accept you as my student. Before Zhang Xuan could finish his words, Xiao Xiong steps forward with his arms spread grandly. He just lost face in front of Zhang Xuan. Now that an opportunity presents itself before him, how could he simply let go of it? Xiao Xiong, what are you intending to do? Zhang Xuan's face darkens. Intending to do? Such a good bud, it would be a pity for it to go to waste. If she were to withdraw from your classes, I will immediately accept her. After all, they came to the academy to study, so it is natural for them to choose the best teacher to guide them, and not someone who scored a 0 in the teacher qualification examinations. Chuckling, Xiao Xiong looks gleeful. Poaching students from me publicly, do you think that I won't report this to the Central Education Bureau? This isn't just a normal bicker but a public poaching of a student. Although the academy encourages teachers to freely choose their students, they do not pardon this kind of snatching of students. The moment it happens, not only will it affect the relationships between the teacher, it could also affect the culture of the school. Poaching students? You speak too heavily. At most, let's have a fair competition advising her by the side. We will let the student choose by herself. Do you dare to agree to it? Xiao Xiong says. Chapter 3, Imperfections in Heaven's Path. A live battle between teachers on offering pointers. Zhang Xuan's face darkens. Although he has inherited the memories of the previous Zhang Xuan, he has yet to organize the information in his head. At most, he can only make sense out of the different realms in cultivation. If it is on mistakes of cultivation, even the previous Zhang Xuan could only smoke through it, needless to say, the current Zhang Xuan. Guiding others. He is definitely inferior to this teacher Xiao. If they were to really compete, he would surely lose. Why? Are you scared to accept the challenge? It is clearly written in the rules that teachers can compete with one another so as to allow the student to make a better choice. This isn't considered as poaching. Xiao Xiong chuckles. He flings his sleeves and a serene and scholarly look appears on him. What do we offer the student's pointer on? He knows that if he doesn't settle things properly today, the only student he has recruited is going to flee. Zhang Xuan grinds his teeth. There are many aspects for a teacher to guide their students on, such as their cultivation, martial art and mistakes in training. As the teachers differ from one another, their specialty also differs. How about this, since they are all new students whom we don't know, how about we have them execute a punching routine, then guide them based on the flaws in their execution. Afterward, we will have a test on the spot and the one whose student improves to a greater extent wins. How about it? Against other teachers, Xiao Xiong wouldn't have the confidence to challenge them. However, against the one whose performance is first from the bottom, the one who scored 0 on the teacher qualification examination, he is still confident of his skills. Zhang Xuan hesitates. It can't be that you do not dare to accept? You were still bragging so proudly back there that you refused so many students who wanted you as their teacher. If you possess true abilities, let's compete it out. Don't hinder the future of the young lady. Xiao Xiong coerces him. That. All right. Zhang Xuan nods his head. The worst one thing that can happen to one is death anyway. The worst that can happen now is his loss. If he doesn't accept the duel now, the student he just accepted will definitely withdraw. At this moment, there is nowhere for him to retreat to anymore. If he finds himself unable to make it when it comes down to it later on, he can just make up something random on the spot. Anyway, he has thick skin, so what if it is embarrassing? Teacher Xiao and Teacher Zhang are competing. Which of these two teachers on the bottom will win? That's him. A teacher who scored 0 on the teacher qualification examination still wants to compete with others? Are you for real? Isn't he just looking for embarrassment? Upon accepting the challenge, numerous students who were in the midst of eating came crowding over. Today is the day for the registration of freshmen. Quite a lot of people who came have heard of this teacher who scored a 0 in the teacher qualification examination, even though they have yet to meet him in person. Most of them are quite curious how it would turn out. Going by the rules, you will guide my student while I will guide yours. Seeing people gathering around, Xiao Xiong feels even more motivated to perform. He smiles with his hands open widely. To ensure fairness, competition between teachers disallows them to offer pointers to their own students so as to avoid the suspicion of cheating. Normally, they would exchange students to guide. Young lady, come and display your punching routine. Use your full strength to strike the stone pillar. After confirming the content and method of the competition, Xiao Xiong assumes the look of an unworldly saint and looks towards the dazed young lady. Aye. Wang Ying blushes furiously as she peeks at Zhang Xuan. After confirming that he isn't angry, she walks forward. With her hands apart, a leisure aura shrouds her entire body. Hoo. The shock wave from the punch causes the wine to whistle. Her punch is full of force. If one doesn't see it personally, they would definitely find it hard to believe that this was a punching routine from the dazed young lady. Her stance is stable and forceful. Just from the looks of it, she has built up a great foundation. Your F4 write stories on pound in, cm. Very quickly, the punching routine comes to an end. After seeing the punching routine, Zhang Xuan falls in despair. With his experience, even with the memories from his previous life, he couldn't see any flaws in it at all. No wonder he would score a 0 for his teacher qualification examination, his eye to perceive such things is too weak. Yes, your full strength and strike the stone pillar. Seeing that she is indeed a good bud, Xiao Xiong nods his head in satisfaction and says. A stone pillar stands not too far away from them. It can be used to gauge the strength of the students so that the students would have a better understanding of their own strength. Wang Ying walks shyly over. She turns the strength she gathered from that punching routine earlier into shooting stars and sends a forceful blow over. Peng! The stone pillar staggers and numbers appear on it. 53. 53 kilograms, the strength of your punch is not bad. Xiao Xiong nods his head in approval. For a freshman who has yet to enter the academy to be guided by the teachers, not to mention she is a female, it is already quite incredible for her to have such weight behind her punch. Previously, I have noticed that your punching routine is very vigorous and forceful. However, one flaw with your punches is that your punch route is a little too short. If you can increase the speed of the rotation of your lower limb, its prowess would increase significantly. If I'm not wrong, your legs should be injured. Xiao Xiong says. As expected of a teacher, his eye to perceive is indeed much better than Zhang Xuan's. With just one look, he is able to tell that the cracks to Wang Ying's punching routine is the lower limbs and from there, he deduced that she might have been injured. Yes. Wang Ying nods her head. Due to your injury, you are a little hesitant to exert pressure on your lower limbs. Let me impart you a method. Don't worry, it will not worsen the injuries on your legs. Following which, Xiao Xiong speaks of another new method and explains it thoroughly. Let me give it a try. For Wang Ying to possess such strength at her age, her comprehension ability isn't weak. It didn't take her long to understand the concepts fully. Then, she steps before the stone pillar again and clenches her fist. A surge of strength fills her entire body and she feels like a powerful dragon. Peng! 63. After some simple guidance, her weight of her blows increases by 10 kilograms. For her strength to increase by 10 kilograms, that is a 20% increase. I am done with my guidance. It's your time. Looking at his result, Xiao Xiong smiles faintly, and the glee behind it is apparent. For a student's strength to increase by 20% with just a single session of guidance, this is not a bad result at all. Teacher Zhang. Afterward, a student walks out from Xiao Xiong's back and readies himself to execute his punching routine. Hold it right there. Zhang Xuan raises his hand. Why? Teacher Zhang wants to go against his words. Xiao Xiong snickers. Go against my words? What a joke. Do you think I will regret something that I have agreed upon? Zhang Xuan speaks with a forceful tone, but in that instant, his heart panics. As a transcender, how could he possibly know how to guide a student? However, if they want to be guided in the field of downloading and watching romance films, he is an expert. I only think that. With the crowd looking at every action of his, Zhang Xuan can only bear with the embarrassment while fumbling for a random excuse to escape from the situation. He is your student and he listens to your orders. What if he intentionally refuses to exert his full strength after my guidance? Won't I lose immediately? I will definitely use my full strength. At the very least, I still have that little bit of credibility. Looking at how Zhang Xuan doubts him, he grinds his teeth. Alright, I believe in the credibility of this student. However, our duel isn't fair. Now that the student had said those words, Zhang Xuan knows that he would only be mocked if he forcefully pushes his way through on that. Thus, he could only thicken his skin further and find another breakthrough. Unfair? What is unfair? Xiong says. Wang Ying is my student. If I win, she is still my student. What would I earn? On the other hand, if I lose, she would become your student. How can this be considered fair? This is just like in a gamble of life. If I win, you would spare me, and if I lose, I would give my life to you. Do you think that this is fair? Zhang Xuan says. Ken. Xiong is at a loss. Now that he puts it that way, it is an unfair challenge. This bet is just like a fraud. While Xiong isn't susceptible to any losses, when the other party loses, he would have to pass his student on to him. How about this? If I were to lose, Liu Yang over here will become your student. After considering for a moment, Xiong declares with a gesture of his hand. Liu Yang is the freshman who had walked out to be guided by Zhang Xuan. Teacher. He didn't expect that teacher Xiao would make such a decision. Liu Yang is flabbergasted and a look of anxiety appears on his face. To make him acknowledge a teacher who scored 0 in the teacher qualification examinations, he would rather die. Don't worry, teacher won't lose. Xiong looks at him confidently. Yes. Seemingly confident in teacher Xiao, Liu Yang walks over and regardless of whether Zhang Xuan is looking or not, he begins on his punching routine. Initially, he wanted to say a few more words to make this youth give up. However, seeing how he immediately starts on his punching routine, not even giving him a chance to speak, Zhang Xuan feels a little desolate. To tell the truth, he doesn't even recognize the punching routine of the student, so how could he find a flaw in it? Needless to say, to guide him. Flaw? What flaw is there in this punching routine? Beads of perspiration flow down his head and anxiety overwhelms him. If he is unable to find a flaw to guide him, embarrassing himself is a small matter. However, the student he took so much trouble to recruit would be gone and he would be expelled from the academy. Boom! Just as he was overwhelmed with anxiety, the library of heaven's path in his mind tremors and the deep rumble of a lightning echoes. 4 words appear on top of the bookshelves. Heaven's path is imperfect. These 4 words have induces an imposing sensation, as though the mountains. It carries with it boundless prestige and might. The moment the 4 words are formed, a book appears on the bookshelf and books which are intangible and falls before him. What is this? Zhang Xuan's heart stops for a moment. He lowers his head to look at the book in his hands. He could only see 2 words on the cover: Liu Yang. Casually flipping to the first page, he could see a dense concentration of words written it. Liu Yang originates from the Liu family from Xian City. A student of Hongshan Academy. Fighter 1 Dan Juxi Realm. Cultivation technique, Lotus Acupoint Breakthrough Might. Battle techniques, Soaring Flower Fists, Rookie, Dragon Inch Fist, Expert. Flaws, 12 aspects. Number 1, he uses too much strength for his feints. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4, no. 12, although his left arm is much stronger, his punching routine is more suited for the right-handed. Thus, he is unable to exert his full strength. This. Looking at the densely filled words on top of it, Zhang Xuan feels as though he is going mad. Is this for real? Just as he is thinking of Liu Yang's flaws, the Library of Heaven's Path compiles a book on his weaknesses. If what is written on it is for real, then the gift package he received as a transcender is simply too overpowered. You must know that everyone has their own flaws. Every martial art and moves have their own flaw. Perfect doesn't exist in this world. To be able to perceive the flaws of a person and compile it into a book, this library is on the verge of breaking through the heavens. Pen. Just as Zhang Xuan is surprised by the changes in the library in his mind, Liu Yang has already completed his punch routine. After a resounding tremor, numbers appear on the stone pillar. 62. The weight behind his punch is 62 kilograms. Teacher Zhang, Liu Yang has already finished his demonstration. How about you offer him some guidance? Xiong smiles. Hearing those words, those who are watching the commotion by the side gaze towards Zhang Xuan. They want to see how the only teacher who scored a 0 in the teacher qualification examination would guide his student. Chapter 4, Slapping Face. The tremor from the Library of Heaven's Path just now caused his attention to be concentrated in his mind and he is still in a dazed state. Furthermore, he doesn't even know what the other person's punching routine is, so how the hell could he guide him? Teacher Zhang, please correct my flaws. Liu Yang steps forward and bends over completely. By one side, Wang Ying blinks her eyes. She wants to see how this expert she has just met would guide him. Ken. Everyone's gaze concentrates on him. If he doesn't speak soon, he will only end in embarrassment. Just as Zhang Xuan is about to spout bullshit, he suddenly remembers Liu Yang's flaws that were recorded in the book in the library. He doesn't know whether what is recorded on it is true or not. However, given the situation, it is probably impossible for him to make something up on the spot. Thus, he could only buck up his courage to say, "There are many flaws in your punch routine, a total of 12 of them." Haha, he said that there are many flaws in there, 12 of them? I didn't hear wrongly, did I? This is the funniest joke I have heard. This soaring flower fist may not be very advanced, but it is one of the most common skills in the entire kingdom and is known as the basic fist. After thousands of years of simplification and refining, although it cannot be considered as perfect, he actually says that there are 12 flaws. A bunch of lies. He probably couldn't discern anything, that's why he decided to make things up. Initially, the surrounding crowd was still pondering over what he could say. The moment he opened his mouth, every one of them bursts into laughter. Soaring flower fist is one of the most basic punching routines of the Tianshuan kingdom. It is similar to the Teju Qiankun. As long as one is practicing martial arts, they would have to learn it first. After thousands of years of refinement by countless experts, though it doesn't hold much might, but it is well reputed for its lack of flaws. Even more so, some people call it the flawless fists. For such a punching routine, that fellow actually claims that there are 12 flaws in it. What kind of joke is it? Ignoring the fact that he scored 0 for his teacher qualification examination, even if the principal were to come over, he probably won't be able to point out so many flaws. Oh! Teacher Zhang Xuan is a genius, to be able to find 12 flaws in the soaring flower fists. To enlighten us. Apparently, Xiao Xiong didn't expect Zhang Xuan to be so boastful and to say such words the moment he opens his mouth. Excited, his eyes twinkled. He purposely said those words to push Zhang Xuan into a corner. Even despite hearing the words from the crowd, Zhang Xuan remains expressionless. However, his heart couldn't help but beat erratically. He didn't expect that the Liu Yang fellow would use a punch routine everyone is aware of. His previous self would definitely be aware of it. However, given that he just transcended over, the other person's memory has yet to fully merge with his. However, even though he is a librarian in his previous life, he is still a transcender with an entirely different set of knowledge. Not to mention, his skin is thick. After rolling his eyes, he says, "Why, you don't believe it? It isn't that I don't want to guide him, but that you all do not trust me. Since you don't want to do as I guided you to, then, you all can't blame me for it. Wang Yang, let's go. This kind of gamble is pointless. Hold it there, we trust you. To enlighten us." Seeing that he is on the verge of leaving, Xiao Xiong immediately stops him. He can tell that the other party is intentionally coming up with exaggerated figures so that other people would refuse to trust him and he could make use of this opportunity to sneak away. However, it wasn't easy for him to grasp hold of this opportunity to teach him a lesson, so how could he give up at this point? Seeing that he is unable to sneak away, Zhang Xuan can only take out the book compiled by the library once again. If I die, so be it. Since there's no backing out now, he stares at the flaws recorded in the book and looks through the 12 of them once again. Then, his gaze falls on the last one. He grinds his teeth and speaks, "The punch routine you just used is right-handed. Let me give you a suggestion. Try using your left hand to strike the stone pillar. Since it is a special privilege granted to a transcender, there is a chance it could be correct. Besides, even if the information on it isn't accurate, he can't think of a better reason to worm his way out at this point. Try using the left-handed version. This can be also considered as guidance? What kind of joke is this? One's left hand is normally weak. If he were to execute it with his left fist, won't he be screwing up the entire punch routine?" The crowd first stuns before a commotion breaks out. All of them stares at Zhang Xuan with looks of despise. Everyone knows that the left hand is weaker than the right. Given the shockwave from the fist Liu Yang just executed, he obviously isn't left-handed. Yet now, to ask him to execute it with his left hand. What kind of joke is this? Liu Yang, try using teacher Zhang's method so that he can give it up. Apparently, Xiao Xiong didn't expect Zhang Xuan to say that. He is so excited that he is on the verge of skipping with joy, but he still yells a command to Liu Yang. Even though he just accepted him as a student, he is extremely sure that Liu Yang is more skilled with his right and that he isn't a left-handed. If he were to really execute it that way, the force behind it probably wouldn't even hit 30 kilograms. For a student to hit 62 kilograms before guidance and before 30 kilograms after guidance, this will definitely cause Zhang Xuan's reputation to fall to the gutters. Let's see whether he can still remain so smug. Yes. Liu Yang snickers coldly and executes the punch routine again. He is very aware of the fact that he isn't left-handed. to get him to execute the blow with his left hand. A load of bullshit. Soaring flower fist is the basic fist he has been practicing since young. Although he isn't very used with the inversion of left and right, he soon got over it. Even though the shock wave from the fist creates a strong gale, regardless of whether it is his strength or proficiency, it seems to be worse than the previous one. Could it be, my privilege as a transcender is a sham? Zhang Xuan is very nervous. Other people's privilege when they transcend includes an old grandfather who could just casually enlighten them. As long as they were to follow his instruction devotedly, there would bound to be no problems. Yet, he just has to get a library with all sorts of messy things written in the book. If what is written in the book is false, he would definitely get expelled from the school. Who? Very quickly, he finishes the routine. Liu Yang walks over to the stone pillar and raising his left fist, he smashes it in. When? A series of digits appear. Find new stories on novelbin.com. 1. Haha, to think it would be in the tens. When the digit 1 appears on it, Xiao Xiong bursts into laughter as an accelerated expression appears on his face. However, before he could finish his words, they got stuck in his throat. His eyeballs are about to fall onto the ground. 123. 123 kilograms. The crowd who had intended to mock him are scared foolish and they tremble uncontrollably. Previously, Liu Yang's blow did 62 kilograms and now that it has risen to 123 kilograms, that is almost a single fold. That is, almost a 100% increase. Is that for real? Even the teacher who scored first in the teacher qualification examination throughout the campus, during his first guidance, can't possibly cause his students' result to increase by a single fold. Is this from me? Even the person in question, Liu Yang, is stunned. He stares foolishly at the rock pillar in disbelief. He knows that he isn't left-handed. However, never could he imagine that his left strength would hold so much strength. That is a single fold compared to his right. The crowd is astonished. Zhang Xuan almost leaps from all the joy surging through his body. It's true. At this instant, he can finally confirm that the flaws compiled by the library are true. To be able to see through the skills a person is cultivating in and his weakness. This privilege of a transcender is really going to bash through the heavens. So, how was it? Your guidance has led to a 20% improvement while mine has led to a 100% improvement. Teacher Xiao, what else do you want to say? Zhang Xuan snickers. Xiao Xiong's face turns pale as he feels a burning sensation on his face. Initially, he proposed this competition to see the other party make a fool out of himself. In the end, the one who was made a fool of is himself. Retrieving a jade token from his embrace, he bites on his finger and a drop of fresh blood falls on it. Liu Yang, I am revoking your status as my student. You can now acknowledge Teacher Zhang as your teacher. After saying that, he glances at Zhang Xuan, you don't have to be too smug about it. This time, you were lucky. The next time we compete, I will make sure that your reputation is ruined. Then, he turns around to leave. This time, not only did his reputation take a blow, he lost a student and even got slapped hard on his face. It is one thing to lose to other teachers. However, the main crux of the problem is that this fellow is the one who scored a 0 in the teacher qualification examination, the worst teacher in the entire academy. Teacher. Watching as Xiao Xiong departs, Liu Yang's face darkens. Although he managed to achieve a good result under Zhang Xuan's guidance, he, like Xiao Xiong, believes that it was only luck. He doesn't believe that he would have this kind of skills. Alright, you are now my student. Hurry up and take out your identity card. Zhang Xuan doesn't care what he is thinking about. A victory in a bet has given him a new student, so he is still busy celebrating over it. He casually tosses a jade token over. Although Liu Yang isn't really willing to become his student, he knows that he has to give in to the results of the bet. If he doesn't acknowledge this Zhang Xuan as his teacher, the other teachers would definitely reject him. Thus, he could only drip his blood onto this jade token to complete the verification. Tomorrow, meet here for lessons. After finished dealing with Liu Yang, Zhang Xuan doesn't say anything excessive. He looks at Wang Ying and said those words faintly before walking out of the canteen. Returning back to his lecture hall, Zhang Xuan delves into his mind without second thoughts to examine the Library of Heaven's Path closely. After examining for a while, he finally understands a thing or two about it. As long as the person executes his skill or martial art before him, it would immediately compile into a book of their flaws. Haha, I have really struck it rich this time. With this thing in my hand, I would be able to see through any flaws at one go. I don't believe that I will still score a 0 for the next teacher qualification examination. Frenzied joy races through his heart. As a transcender, Zhang Xuan finally feels some enthusiasm for the future. Teju Qiankun literally means ancestor long fist. A brief introduction of long fist. It is a close combat skill which emphasizes stretching one's limbs to the maximum. It is a high aggressive style whose motto is, the best defense is a long offense. Source, Wikipedia. Teju Qiankun is known as one of the 6 great long fists in China. There are multiple names to it, depending on the region, but it is well established and influenced the creation of many other fists in the future, thus giving it the title of Mother of 100 Fists. Source, Baidu. Chapter 5, Young Mistress. Have you heard? Cao Xiong Laoshi had just competed with the academy's number 1 teacher from the bottom, teacher Zhang Xuan. They competed? Then, won't Zhang Xuan Laoshi lose for sure? Unexpectedly, that wasn't so. Zhang Xuan Laoshi won. He casually guided a student and made his strength increase by 1-fold. Increase by 1-fold? In his first guidance? Even Lu Xuan Laoshi wouldn't be capable of doing that. Are you for real? A lot of people witnessed it for themselves, so how could it not be real? Those who witnessed the competition in the canteen are discussing over it excitedly. For the student's strength to increase by 1-fold in the first guidance? Zhao scoffs. It is definitely just luck. Bayou City is the 3rd biggest city in the Tianshuan kingdom and Zhao is the daughter of its city lord. From young, she has been put through top-class education and her motive for coming to Hongshan Academy is to be accepted as Lu Xuan's student. However, she didn't expect to hear that Lu Xuan would be inferior to Zhang Xuan before she even found him. Naturally, she doesn't believe such rumors. Luck? I don't think that it is luck. After all, it is an increase by an entire fold. Just luck itself won't explain it. A student sitting not too far away from her couldn't help but respond to her words. You think that it isn't luck? Don't think that I do not recognize that Zhang Xuan Laoshi. He is the one who scored a 0 in the teacher qualification examination and almost got fired. What capabilities do you think a guy like that would possess? If you do not believe my words, I can unmask his facade right here and now. Zhao has had an impatient personality since young. Upon hearing someone praise the worst teacher in the academy, she immediately bellows. Fine. We also want to know whether the teacher is just all talk. Instantly, 2 students stand up. The 3 of them walked out of the canteen and after asking around, they found Zhang Xuan's classroom. Pushing open the door, they walked in. You are Zhang Xuan Laoshi? Walking into the classroom, they see the young man sitting on the teacher's seat smiling foolishly to himself. No matter how they look like it, he doesn't seem like an impressive teacher. In fact, they started to feel uncomfortable. That's me. After noticing the entry of a few students, Zhang Xuan stopped analyzing the Library of Heaven's Path and turns over to look at them. We've heard that you have won in a competition against Cao Xiong Laoshi and the student you guided had an increase in strength by 1-fold. Zhao states with clear disbelief in her tone. Good. Then I would like you to guide me as well, to see whether you can increase my strength by 1-fold as well. I'm not free. Zhang Xuan waves them away. Teachers also have their own pride as educators. They aren't performers who would perform to the will of the audience. How could they just guide others just because they want them to? Besides that, what's with your attitude? It's not like I owe you something. Not free? Aren't you very idle right now? Zhao could tell that the other party is just trying to shake her off. She grinds her teeth in anger. She told her friends that she would come and expose his facade, yet right now, she is being chased away without even getting a glimpse at his abilities. She feels embarrassed. I have to recruit students? I don't have the effort to fool around with an arrogant little girl. Zhang Xuan says calmly. You. Zhao is so furious that her beautiful eyes roll around. She is the daughter of a city lord, not to mention she is blessed with good looks. No matter where she goes, people look at her with eyes of admiration. However, not only did this fellow reject her, he even said that she was fooling around. How hateful. Explore new novels on novelby.com. Even if he is a teacher, this is unforgivable. What must we do for you to guide us? Grinding her jade-like teeth, Zhao questions. Acknowledge me as your teacher. Zhang Xuan replies calmly as he looks at Zhao with a bizarre expression. Seeing how the other party is looking at her as though she is an idiot, Zhao staggers. Fine, I will acknowledge you as my teacher. However, if you were to teach me erroneously or give me bullshit, I will expose your lies. Zhao, you can't. If you were to take him as your teacher, you won't be able to become Lu Xuan Lao Shi's student. The two friends who came with her almost fainted upon hearing her acceptance of his request. They immediately tried to persuade her. Hearing the persuasion of her two friends, Xiaoya hesitates. She is aware of the school rules. After becoming a teacher's student, if the student wants to acknowledge another teacher, they would have to first withdraw from the lessons of their current one. However, if they were to do so, the other teacher would tend to reject the student. Not to mention, a popular teacher like Lu Xuan. You don't have the guts to? If you don't dare to, just hurry up and leave. Don't hold up my business. Recruiting new students? Zhang Xuan waves her away. Who says that I do not have the guts to? She was still hesitating, but upon hearing Zhang Xuan's words, Xiaoya immediately explodes. Her eyebrows frown and she says, I will acknowledge you as my teacher right now. Let's verify our relationship. Your attitude is too bad. Even you want me as your master, I don't want to accept you. Zhang Xuan waves her away yet again. It is natural to want to recruit obedient students, just like the previous Wang Ying. However, the current one seems to be on gunpowder. Even if he lacks student, he is unwilling to admit her in. You. She didn't expect that when she chose to bear with it to acknowledge him as her teacher, he still refused to accept her. Xiaoya can feel flames arising from her. She came here specially to expose his fraud. If she were to stomp away furiously now, wouldn't she be falling into his trap? Perhaps, this fellow is intentionally trying to chase her away so that his fraud cannot be exposed. She is adamant to not allow things go his way. HMPH, I will just admit it as my fault first then. After I expose your true face, see how I will put you in place. Thinking so, Xiaoya suppresses the rage in her heart. She smiles faintly, exposing her white teeth. Teacher, don't get angry. I was disrespectful. I sincerely wish to become your student, may I plead with you to accept me? This is more like it. Seeing her change in attitude, Zhang Xuan nods his head. I can accept you as my student. Before that, I would like you to clean this room. I don't want to see a speck of dust here. Also, help me tidy up the washroom outside. Scrub the toilet bowls clean. Afterward, I will check on it. If I am satisfied with your work, I will admit you in under my tutelage. Don't go too far. Don't go too far. Xiaoya is about to go on a rampage. What is her identity? She is the daughter of a city lord, a daughter of a noble. From young, she has never done any household chore before, and yet this fellow intends for her to sweep the room? Even cleaning the washrooms? Scrub the toilet bowls? Is he insane? If you can't even do such superficial tasks, you can leave right now. I don't need lazy and useless students. Zhang Xuan says. Hey, little lass. You want to play with me? You are still much too inexperienced. Who says that I am useless? I will clean up now, I will scrub now. Xiaoya grinds her. Grabbing a broom and mop, she starts to tidy up the room. Xiaoya, how about we just forget about it? I don't think he is really capable. He is purposely making things hard for you. The two friends who tagged along with her, upon seeing the young mistress of a city lord starting to clean up the place, they are all horrified and quickly attempt to convince her otherwise. Both of you wait outside first. Since young, I, Xiaoya, have never really lost before. Today, I have decided to go all out against him. Xiaoya frowns. That. Her two friends understand Xiaoya's temper. Seeing that she can't be persuaded, the both of them look at each other, at a loss of what to do. Inform Butler Yao, didn't he come as well? If the butler were to know that the fellow who scored 0 for his teacher qualification examination was ordering young mistress to scrub the toilet bowl, he would definitely stop him. After staring at each other for a moment, one of them came up with a solution. For a person of Xiaoya's identity, even though there weren't any threats on the journey to the academy, there was still someone who escorted her. The person who escorted her was Butler Yao. Presently, he should still be around the academy. Alright, let's look for him now. Without any hesitation, the two of them immediately rush out of the academy. For Xiaoya, who has a stubborn temper just like any other daughters of rich households, even though she has never done household chores before, it didn't take her long to adapt to it. Swiftly, the interior of the room became clean. Even the washroom outside is sparkling. Not bad. Zhang Xuan nods his head in satisfaction. You should be satisfied now. You can admit me as your student and guide my cultivation now, right? After finishing her work, Xiaoya crushes her teeth together, luo luo. Her jade-like face distorts as she tries to hold herself back from punching the guy in front of her. Your identity card? Disregarding the other party's murdering gaze, Zhang Xuan throws a jade token to her casually. Taking a deep breath, Chaoya drips a drop of blood on it, verifying their relationship. Zhang Laoshi, now that I can your student, can you give me a pointer or two? Now that she is on the verge of accomplishing her objective, revealing the true face of the despicable man before her, Chaoya suppresses the excitement in her heart and asks. Display fighting technique to me first, so that I can gauge your fundamentals. Zhang Xuan beckons. Yes. Without any nonsense, Chaoya clasps her hands together and bows before executing her skills. Hoo. The wind howls. Her blow is full of might. As a female as well, her blows are much faster and stronger than Wang Ying. With a single look, it is apparent that she put quite a bit of effort into her training. While looking at Chaoya execute her skill, Zhang Xuan's mind is currently in the library. As expected, with a light tremor, a book falls from the shelves. The two words, Chaoya, are written on the cover. Chaoya, the daughter of the city lord of Bayou City. Fighter 1 Dan Juxi Realm Pinnacle. Cultivation technique, white jade pure maiden skill. Weakness, 27 flaws. Number 1 Her personality is rash and she is easily angered. This goes against the white jade skill's nature of calmness and smoothness, so she is unable to bring out its full strength. Number 2. The book is just like what he saw previously. It records all of the flaws and deficiencies in Chaoya's cultivation. Peng. 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 After a short moment, Chaoya completes the entire punch routine. Clenching her feminine hands, she turns around and sends a blow towards the rock pillar in the classroom that is used for measuring the strength of one's blow. A crisp sound. A set of number appears on it. 110. Not bad, not bad. Zhang Xuan can't help but nod his head. To be capable of wielding such strength in her fist before coming to the academy, Chaoya is indeed the daughter of a city lord, holding extraordinary strength. Alright, give me some pointers. After executing her skill, her face doesn't turn red nor does she gasp for breath. Chaoya turns to look at Zhang Xuan. Chapter 6, What did you do to our young mistress? Finishing what that has to be done, Chaoya is ready to see the fellow before her make an embarrassment out of himself. Suddenly, an idea comes to mind and a record crystal appears in her sleeves. Record crystal, it is an object capable of recording video and audio in its surrounding. She intends to use it as evidence of Zhang Xuan's wrongdoing. This way, he would be unable to talk his way out of it when she spreads word about his crime. Let's see how you would be humiliated then. To think that you would dream of competing with Lu Xuan Laoshi, dream on. Upon the thought that she would be able to grab hold of evidence on him soon to punish him and vent her frustration, Chaoya's eyes glitter and she almost failed to control her laughter. Suppressing her happiness, just as she was waiting to see what nonsense the other party would come up with, a pair of clear eyes reminiscent of lanterns appear right in front of her. Ah! Chaoya leaps in shock and backs away hurriedly. Only then did she realize that it is Zhang Xuan Laoshi. She grinds her teeth in anger and exclaims, "What are you doing?" "Relax, I am just taking a look." With his hands behind him, he circles around Chaoya, shaking his head. Then, he suddenly stops before Chaoya with less than 1 chi between them. I.e. 33.3 centimeters. She can feel the warmth from his body. Chaoya's face blushes. From young, there hasn't been a single man who has been in such proximity with her. Her heart beats furiously. Then, she hears an unhurried voice saying, "You are sick." Hearing those words, Chaoya almost erupts and faints on the spot. "You are the one that is sick, your entire family is sick." She is on the verge of going crazy. What's wrong with this fellow's brain? She executed a set of martial arts for him to point out the flaws in them. Instead, this fellow says that she is sick. How can such a wild person exist in the world? Why did you start hurling insults? Zhang Xuan frowns. Soon, he understands what other meanings his words could hold and smiles faintly. "I am saying that your body is sick. I am not insulting you." "I am not sick." Chaoya humps coldly. "In my opinion, you are the one who is sick. Something is wrong with your brain." She is as strong as an ox. A single fist of hers has a strength of more than 100 kilograms behind it. She is very clear on the fact whether she is sick or not. Don't refute my words first. Do you often feel a vague pain in your dance hong and juju acupoint? Especially on the night of a full moon, when the humid wind blows, a faint red tinge will appear on your body and you will like. At this point, Zhang Xuan hesitates for a moment, as though it is difficult to verbalize it out. He continues, "No matter how you train, you feel like your heart won't come down. TL, dance hong is an acupoint in the center of an horizontal line that passes through your two nipples. Juju is just below the center of your ribcage. How? How did you know? The furious Xiaoya had intended to refute every word that the other party would say directly, but after hearing those words, her face turns red and she stupefies. It isn't that the words he said are incorrect, but they are simply too correct. Recently during training, she would feel a faint pain in her dance hong and juju, although she would just bear it since the pain isn't severe. The crux of the problem is that on the night of a full moon, when the cold wind blows, her body would turn weird. A strong desire would surge through her body as it turns red. Unable to suppress her ragging emotions, she would find herself craving the embrace of a man. She is just a 16 to 17-year-old young lady who has yet to undergo the matrimony of human bodies, so she was unable to tell what that emotion is. She only feels embarrassed by it. Initially, she thought that she could just bear with it and it would pass. However, these feelings became more and more intense. As her body develops and her chest becomes more and more fleshed out, she felt those tendencies getting more and more uncontrollable. In the past, she could deal with it with just 2 circulations of her cultivation technique. But now, even 10 times wasn't enough for the urges to subside. She could only halt with her training until the sun rises. As this affair is really too bizarre, she doesn't dare to tell anyone about it. Even her best friends and her city lord father is kept in the dark. Despite it being a matter no one knows about. How did this fellow find out about it? It is also due to her being unable to bear it that she came to the academy in a hope to find the crux of the problem and solve it once and for all. I am a teacher. I could tell from the punch routine you executed just now. Zhang Xuan replies calmly. Of course, it is impossible to tell this much through looking at one's punch routine. The Library of Heaven's Path is an extraordinary treasure. As long as she possesses flaws, even if these flaws have nothing to do with her skills, it would be recorded in it. Exactly because he had seen her problems, that's why Zhang Xuan had a bizarre look on his face. Is there a solution? Xiaoya clenches her jaws and asks with a red-stained face. After she was so resolute to expose the fraud of the party, she ended up having her problems exposed by him in an instant. It made her feel embarrassed. There is a method to resolving it. Come to class tomorrow and I will explain it to you. Zhang Xuan gestures with his hands. Really? Xiaoya's eyes light up in disbelief. She is very aware of the problems in her body. Due to her inability to control those ragging desires, it caused her become irritable and impatient in everything she does. Initially, she thought she could only conceal this matter in her heart and that there is no way to solve this problem. However, never would she ever dream that this teacher who is the last in the entire academy would be able to uncover it in just a few words. Furthermore, he has a solution to treat it. If you don't trust me, you can look for other teachers in the academy. Zhang Xuan flings his hand with an indifferent expression, the look of an expert. No. Teacher, you are the only one. Xiaoya hurriedly nods her head. It hasn't been just a day or two since the start of her suffering. Countless physicians in the city couldn't tell what is wrong with her. Even her father, City Lord Zhao, wasn't able to tell that there is something amiss with her. Yet, this Zhang Xuan Lao she could tell with just one look. Just comparing their eyes of discernment, none of these people could compete with him. That is exactly the reason why she thinks that he would have a way to treat her problem. That record crystal, do you still intend to keep it? Zhang Xuan points at her sleeves. Ah. Xiaoya is horrified. Only now does she recall the record crystal she intentionally left behind so as to get evidence on him. If the contents of the conversation were to leak out, how can she continue to walk with her head held up high? I don't. Exerting some force with her palm, Gacha, the record crystal is reduced to dirt. After destroying the crystal, Xiaoya glances at Zhang Laoshi once again. This time, his face doesn't look so hateful. Rather, it is an enigmatic face. Pitorati FRM no VE pound, IN.C.O.M. Despite concealing the record crystal so discreetly, she still got caught. Not to mention, the problems with her body were exposed by him. How could someone of such capabilities score a 0 on the teacher qualification examination? He must be indifferent to fame and reputation, apathetic to the views of outsiders. I have heard that experts are all like that. When this idea appears in her head, Zhang Xuan's position in her heart evolves from a swindler to one of the top experts in the world. Take your identity token to claim your bedding and your books. Also, look for your lodging while you are at it. We shall start lessons punctually tomorrow. Seeing that another student has been reeled, Zhang Xuan waves his hand as he passes down instruction to her. Suddenly, a loud roar can be heard from the outside and in a flash, a human figure rushes in. Who? The person who entered is a middle-aged man. He carries a ferocious aura with him as he enters into the classroom. From a single look, one can tell that he isn't weak. Young mistress. After entering the door, the middle-aged man stops and bows to Zhao. Uncle Yao, why are you here? Zhao stares at him blankly. This isn't anyone else but the butler from Bayou City whom her two friends went to invite, Yao. Just as he was about to leave after sending Zhao to the academy, her two friends rushed over to inform him that the young mistress wants to acknowledge the fellow who scored a 0 on the teacher qualification examination as her teacher and that he even ordered the young mistress to scrub the toilet bowls. Hearing those words, Butler Yao almost exploded on the spot. Young mistress, the apple of the eye of the city lord. At home, no one dares to order her around. To dare to get her to sweep the floor and scrub the toilet bowls. He is too audacious. If this fellow is one of the more reputable teachers in the academy, he could drop the matter since they tend to be pickier. The crux of the problem is that this fellow was the last in the teacher qualification examination, not to mention he even drove a person berserk. How can the young mistress study under someone like that? Even in the city, the people who guided her, even if casually, are much stronger than this person over here. Young mistress, are you? Staring coldly at Zhang Xuan, Yao quickly glances at the young mistress. I have already acknowledged Zheng Laoshi as my teacher. Zhao declares. Running here with his full strength, he didn't think that he would still be a step too slow. Yao's face darkens as he pulls Zhao to his back. He stares at Zheng Xuan coldly, quickly withdraw a young mistress from your tutelage. Then, apologize. Otherwise, when I blow this matter up, everyone will know that you bewitched an underage lady as a teacher to get her to come under your tutelage. Bewitched an underage lady? Isn't your use of phrase a little too much? Zhang Xuan shakes his head. If others were to hear such words, they would think that he had done something towards Zhao. The heavens can serve as his witness that all he has done was to accept a student. It is an extremely pure action. Don't play around with me. The young mistress of our family is a talented genius. She isn't someone a person of your qualification can teach. If you were to remove her from your lessons now, I can choose to just let this pass. Otherwise, I will definitely bring this up to the principal and have you fired. Yao howls. However, before he could finish his words, Zhao interrupts him from his back. Uncle Yao. What are you doing? I have acknowledged Zheng Laoshi as my teacher of my own free will. Why are you causing trouble for me? Zhao stomps her feet. The reason why she came to the academy was to solve the problem with her body. She is still happy over the fact that the teacher before her assured her that he would be able to help her, and yet this fellow here comes to mess it up. What the heck is he doing? Of your own free will? Yao glances at the young mistress. Do you think that he can really give you guidance that would allow your strength to surge? The young mistress is a proud person, he knows that well. Could it be that this teacher who is reputed as trash is able to guide her? That's why she acknowledged him? Allow my strength to surge? That he didn't do. Zhao shakes his head. The other party only pointed out her illness, he didn't guide her on her cultivation. No. Then. Yao is baffled. All right, Uncle Yao, stop asking. Recalling her own illness, Zhao face turns red. Seeing the young mistress behaving like that, Yao stares blankly in confusion. Then, when he sees the shattered record crystal on the floor, his face turns frosty and in a split moment, he seems to have turned into a rampaging lion. You darned brat, what did you do to our young mistress? Did you think that I wouldn't dare to kill you right now? Boom! In his rage, a powerful aura surges forth and the wind howls. Jia, the ground creaks in agony as though it is unable to bear the heavy pressure. Chapter 7, You Were Dumped Before. Translator, Staff Cleric Editor, Third Pole and Tortex. What did I do? Upon seeing at the other party seed with rage, Zheng Xuan is speechless. Isn't this misunderstanding getting a little out of hand? However, he can understand that it is natural for others to think that way. After all, without guiding her cultivation, he was able to make their young mistress willingly acknowledge him as her master, and she even blushed upon bringing up the subject. What's more, the record crystal had been shattered. That's obvious an act of evidence destroying. All of these show that there's something amiss with the situation. Zheng Xuan is immediately labeled as a weird uncle, a sex maniac, a shameless teacher and other similar titles. Uncle Yao, what are you thinking? If you are going to continue behaving like this, I will never bother with you again. Looking at the furious Yao and hearing his words, how can she not know what is going through his mind? Her face immediately darkens as she exclaims. After all, she is a young lady. This kind of rumors would ruin her reputation. Young mistress. Interrupted by Zhao Ya, Yao Ha could only withdraw his aura. All right, follow me to collect my bedding. Don't hold me up here, I still have lessons tomorrow. Zhao Ya harems and walks out of the room. She is unwilling to talk about her illness. If she were to reveal it to him, he would definitely pressure her to talk about it. Under this kind of situation, how could she possibly talk about it? Thus, unable to come up any other excuses, she could only claim to have willingly acknowledged Zhang Xuan as her teacher. HMPH. After seeing the young mistress turning around to leave the room, Yao Ha glances at Zhang Xuan coldly with a glint in his eye, seeming to be contemplating over something. Then, with a fling of his arm, he turns around and walks out. At this moment, the intention to kill that young man lingers in his mind. If they weren't in the academy and the young mistress didn't stop him, he would have long made his move. Who did I offend this time? Looking at the Yao Ha's cold gaze, Zhang Xuan feels perplexed. I only accepted a student, do you have to go this far? He made it seem as though I am an unpardonable criminal who is the source of all evil in this world. The problem is that, he didn't do anything at all. Forget it, there is still time left today. Let's see if I can recruit a few more students. The more students under my tutelage, the more resources I will receive. There are many different levels to the teachers of Hongshan Academy. Every year, an assessment of the teachers would be conducted based on the conditions of their students. The number of the student they have, the pace of their improvement, their results in all kinds of competitions. The teachers are reliant on these to be promoted. The higher their level, the resources a teacher would get would increase exponentially. Naturally, the same goes for the resources their student would receive as well. This is probably what it means by the teacher and the students advancing as one. Right now, he has only accepted 3 students. He might be able to retain his position as a teacher, but if one were to talk about qualifications, he is still the last in the entire school. In order for him to advance, he could only continue recruiting more students. Zhang Yang, don't be too disappointed. Wang Chao Laoshi was the only one who rejected you, you don't have to be so depressed. 2 youths are walking on the pavement in the academy. The youth in front is currently trying to console the one behind. Mo Xiao, you were accepted, of course you don't feel anything saying those words. How about you try getting rejected? Cheng Yang frowns, unhappy at his friend's words of consolation. Cough cough, don't say that. There are still a lot of excellent teachers in the academy, there isn't a need for you to choose Wang Chao Laoshi out of them all. The youth in front scratches his head in embarrassment. There's no need to choose him? It is easy for you to say. Since young, we have been training in the way of the spear and the spear has already become a part of our body. It is something we are unable to discard anymore. The best teacher in the art of the spear in Hongshan Academy is Wang Chao Laoshi. Now that you were accepted by him while I was rejected, is it possible for me to not get depressed? Cheng Yang rages. Cheng Yang rages. That. Mo Xiao didn't know how he should reply to such a question. In Hongshan Academy, different teachers have different specialization. Some of them specialize in fists while some of them specialize in sabers. Wang Chao Laoshi is well known for his capability in imparting the way of the spear. He is considered as one of the better teachers even considering the entire academy. The both of them joined the examinations together in a hope to become his disciples. However, one of them passed while the other one failed. It is natural that the one who failed would feel gloomy. There is a classroom there. How about we take a look? Unsure about how he should resolve this awkward situation, Mo Xiao suddenly sees a classroom not too far away and points towards it. I'm not going. Cheng Yang shakes his head. Let's go and take a look. What if this teacher is also skilled in imparting the way of the spear as well? Mo Xiao consoles. Anyway, you have nothing to lose just by visiting it. All right. Although he is unwilling, Cheng Yang still follows Mo Xiao into the room. The person inside the room in Zhang Xuan. He is just about to go outside to recruit some fresh blood when he sees 2 youths walking in. Nice to meet you, teacher. Mo Xiao bows. N. Zhang Xuan widens his eyes slightly. Are you here to look for a teacher? Yes, this is my brother. He is extremely formidable, especially with his spear. In the younger generation, there are few who can compete against him. I hope that teacher can guide him. Mo Xiao says hurriedly. Mo Xiao. Cheng Yang pulls the sleeves of his good brother. What is it? Mo Xiao asks in confusion. Find EW chapters on nvlbi.com. Look at the surroundings. Cheng Yang frowns. This classroom is extremely narrow. From the looks of it, it could only fit 10 people or so. It is obviously a small classroom. The size of the classroom is representative of the capability of the teacher. The teachers who are ranked in the top few have classrooms the size of a field, allowing more than hundreds of students to cultivate and train at the same time. In comparison to that, this classroom is just like the size of a palm. The teacher of this classroom is probably only of average standard. It's indeed quite small. Mo Xiao notices the size of the room and his heart beats, Ji Deng. Initially, he wanted to help soothe the stifled emotions in his best friend's heart. Yet, unwittingly, he came to this kind of location. If the teacher's standard is really subpar, not only will the stifled emotions not disappear, it might even weigh heavier on his heart. Demonstrate your ability with the spear. Seemingly oblivious to the secret conversation taking place between the two, Zhang Xuan says calmly. Since we came here, we might as well have this teacher guide you for a bit, since there's nothing to lose. If his standard is really bad, we could just refuse to acknowledge him and leave. Seeing the look of hesitation on Cheng Yang's face, Mo Xiao persuades him. N. Cheng Yang nods his head. Other than some exceptionally popular teacher that most students set their eyes on, when most teachers choose their own students, their students are allowed to examine the capabilities of the teachers as well. After thinking it through, Cheng Yang immediately retrieves the spear from his back and fixes the multiple parts together. Weng! With the long spear in his hands, Cheng Yang's expression changes instantly, just like the intimidating glint of the sharp edge of an unsheathed blade. So. The long spear stabs forward and a sonic waves boom. The entire room sounds as though it is being torn apart and a strong gust of wind whips up in the surroundings. Experts are identifiable the moment they make a move. This Cheng Yang, although he may not be considered too strong, but his prowess with the spear is indeed quite not bad. Whoo! The tip of his spear tremors and strikes the rock pillar not too far away. A light reverberation lingers in the air and numbers appear on the pillar. 110. To think it would be more than 100 kilograms. Just by the destructive prowess itself, even a one-dan fighter Juxi Realm Pinnacle would be unable to take the blow. Teacher, please offer me some pointers. With his spear held vertically beside him, Cheng Yang stands upright without a hint of nervousness or tiredness as he looks at Zhang Xuan impassively. Truthfully, just by the size of the classroom, he doesn't hold high expectations for this teacher. He thinks that his standard would at most be of average. As though proving his point, the teacher before him squints his eye. It is difficult to fathom what he might be thinking. He only slowly opens his eyes after hearing his words. He turns to look at him with a faint hint of a smile on his lips. You are emotionally wounded? That is, you have been dumped before? After thinking it through, Cheng Yang immediately retrieves the spear from his back and fixes the multiple parts together. TL, in case you find this part weird, it is probably like 3 parts to the spear. A spear is quite long. It tends to be taller than a human, so it is hard to carry around. Chapter 8, I Am That Trash. Translator, Staff Cleric Editor, Thut Pole and Tortex. Cheng Yang stares blankly before his face turns red and darkens. Visit novelbin.c.m for updates. I once had a crush on a girl. Then I was humiliated by her. But this has nothing to do with teacher. He once had a crush on a girl and he had once confessed to her excitedly. However, he was humiliated hurtlessly by the other party and he felt ashamed of it. He has kept this incident a secret such that not even Mo Xiao is aware of it. How did this teacher know of this? Is that for real? Cheng Yang, why didn't you tell me that you got humiliated by someone? Who is it? Hearing him admit to it, Mo Xiao is surprised and hurriedly asks him. I will tell you about it later. Cheng Yang shakes his head, refusing to say any more about it here. He looks at the teacher before him and says, Teacher, this is my private affair. I have no idea how you could have knew this, but this should have nothing to do with guiding me in the way of the spear. Nothing to do with it. Zhang Xuan shakes his head. This has everything to do with it. Everything to do with it? Cheng Yang is a little doubtful of his words. What does a broken heart have to do with the Zhang Xuan guiding him? Your spear is decisive and powerful. This is just like your personality. No matter what you do, you always charge straight ahead without thinking about the consequences. This should have been a good thing. Warriors should be like that, charging ahead without concerning themselves with minor things. Zhang Xuan looks at Cheng Yang calmly. However, it is a pity that after your emotional experience, fear started to sprout within you. You fear rejection and you fear humiliation. There is hesitation in your spear. With that additional hesitation, your strength greatly reduces. You could see all these from my spear? You could tell that I was once heartbroken? You could tell my personality? Cheng Yang is shocked. The words of the other party aren't wrong. Rather, they are too correct, there isn't even a single error in it. His personality is straightforward, and in this past, this allows him to charge ahead bravely without fear. Yet, due to that emotional experience, he starts to become timid and hesitant in everything he does. For him to be capable of telling all these through his spear, even his heart break, what kind of eyes though he poses. When did such an impressive teacher appear in the academy? He feels as though he is going crazy. Previously, when he visited the number 1 spear teacher Wang Chao to request for him to accept him as a student, Wang Chao only told him that he has yet to grasp the crux of the way of the spear. As for the reason behind it, he couldn't really tell. However, with just a single look, the man before him could tell that he had a history of heartbreak and that his skills stagnated due to the emotional trauma from it. Could this teacher's ability to discern be stronger to Wang Chao? This is normal. Zhang Xuan gestures with his hand, a look of an expert appearing on his face. The spear is a reflection of one's heart. If one's heart isn't clear, the skills they display through it would be dark. Even though your skills with the spear is coherent, it feels as though there is something shrouding it, something that you are unable to make sense of, something that you are unable to sever from you. With just one look, I can tell that it is definitely a crush. This time, not only does Cheng Yang's face crumbles, even the mouth of Mo Xiao beside him is opened so wide that an egg could soon be stuffed inside it. What the heck, are you for real? Just by looking at one's skill with the spears, you could tell that emotions are shrouding it, and the unable to make sense of and unable to sever. Are these still the eyes of a human? Mo Xiao and Cheng Yang stares at one another, disbelief appearing in both of their eyes. Teacher, can you help me take a look as well? After the shock, Mo Xiao steps forward with a look of desire on his face. Regardless of whether Zhang Xuan is agreeable or not, the spear in his hands tremble and he begins to execute his moves. He executes the same moves as Cheng Yang, just that they are stronger and much more fluid. Just by his skills with the spears itself, he is indeed better than Cheng Yang. It is no wonder that Wang Chao Laoshi chose him and not Cheng Yang. Who? After a gust of wind, Mo Xiao retracts his spear and stands up straight. When his spear moves, he is like an unparalleled frenzied demon. When his strength overflows, even gods and spirits dare not approach. When his spear retracts, he stands quietly just like a statue. With a movement of his hands and feet, his disposition changes. Although he cannot be considered to be strong, being at fighter 1 dan, he could be considered to have walked quite a distance in the way of the spear. You have a weak stomach. If I am not wrong, you even suffered diarrhea today. Zhang Xuan's serene gaze turns towards him. Oh. A shudder passes through Mo Xiao. Teacher, you could tell that I had diarrhea from my spear. Just like what the other party said, his stomach isn't doing well today. He already started having diarrhea from yesterday. Today, it got even worse and his body feels weak. However, this doesn't really affect him much. With a spear in his hand, he still managed to execute his skills at top form such that even Wang Chao Laoshi couldn't stop praising him. Yet, the man before him could see through it in an instant. Is that for real? To be able to tell one's heartbreak and diarrhea just from his spear, what are his eyes made of? You want me to guide you? If you want, then acknowledge me as your master. Ignoring the shock of the two, Zhang Xuan looks at them calmly. To be able to tell the condition of them both so simply, the both of them are about to go mad from shock. Yet, it doesn't seem like anything much to him. The truth is the same as well. When the both of them executed their skills, the Library of Heaven's Path automatically compiled a book on them both and the heartbreak and diarrhea naturally appeared in the list of their flaws. Zhang Xuan only has to take a look and read them out loud. There isn't any difficulty to it at all. Disciple Cheng Yang is willing to acknowledge teacher as my mentor. Without any hesitation, Cheng Yang immediately kneels on my floor. He is truly impressed by Zhang Xuan. With this kind of eye for discernment, how could his guidance be ordinary? Seeing how Cheng Yang acknowledges him as his master just after he pointed out a flaw of his, even before he started guiding him, Zhang Xuan nods his head satisfactorily. He retrieves a jade token representing his new identity to him and says, "Verify our relationship." Yes. Without any delay, Cheng Yang immediately drips a blood on it to verify his ownership of the token. Very quickly, the procedures are completed. Since you are now my student, let me give you a suggestion. If you want to be respected in a relationship, you must first hold sufficient strength. Without strength, how could the other party think of you as an equal? Thus, the first thing you have to do is not to be depressed but to open up your mind and focus on your training. You must let the other party know how foolish they were to reject you. You must use your strength to prove to them. At this point, Zhang Xuan suddenly recalls a very show-off book from his previous life and smiles faintly. The river reverses its flow after 30 years. Do not bully the youths just because they are poor. Do not bully the youths just because they are poor. Hearing those words, Cheng Yang feels a burning sensation in his chest. He feels so agitated that his face turns entirely red and his body trembles uncontrollably. As a person born in this world, how could Cheng Yang possibly have heard of those words? In that instant, his battle will seem to have been lit. The depressed emotions he welled up from his heartbreak seems to shine brightly like diamonds. Try executing your skills again. Seeing how he has broken out of his shell, Zhang Xuan gestures. All right. Without saying anything, with the spear in his hands, Cheng Yang's disposition changes in an instant. It is completely different from his disposition previously. Hong 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 hong. His spear sweeps about as his aura rumbles. Powerful strength is exerted through the spear and scatters into the surrounding, shaking the entire room. Then, at the end of his spear routine, he sends a horizontal stab towards the rock pillar. A deafening reverberation and a line of digits appear on it. 235. To think it would be 235 kilograms. Previously, when he used his full strength, it was only 110. With just a pointer, his strength increased by more than a single fold. Thank you, teacher. Seeing the numbers, the doubts in Cheng Yang vanished. He kneels onto the floor. At this moment, he is truly convinced in the capabilities of the teacher before him. Incredible. Looking at the numbers on the rock pillar, Mo Xiao couldn't help but turn red as his entire body trembles. He is delighted over finding a good teacher for his good brother. Yet, he feels disappointed at the same time. Previously, when Wang Chao guided him, his strength only increased by 30%. Yet, the teacher before him enhanced Cheng Yang's strength by more than a fold. If only he had known that this nameless teacher is that formidable, he wouldn't have wasted his effort to look for Wang Chao and would have immediately acknowledged him as his teacher. At this moment, he feels a little regretful. However, doubt sprouts in his mind. How could such a formidable spear teacher remain unknown? He can't resist asking, Teacher, since you have accepted Cheng Yang as your student, could we have the honor of knowing your name? Hearing his words, Cheng Yang looks over as well. He is completely impressed by this teacher, but at this moment, he realizes that he doesn't even know his name. I am Zhang Xuan. Zhang Xuan replies calmly. Zhang Xuan? That name sounds familiar. Hearing that name, Mo Xiao ponders for a moment. Then, something comes to mind and his eyes narrow. His lips quiver uncontrollably as he asks, I seem to recall. The trash teacher who scored 0 points for his teacher qualification examination is also called Zhang Xuan. It seems that teacher, you, have the same name as him. And, I am that trash. Zhang Xuan nods his head. Ah. Cheng Yang and Mo Xiao petrify. Chapter 9, Pet. Translator, Staff Cleric Editor, Third Pole and Tortex. There are many rumors regarding that useless teacher. Before even coming to the academy, they have heard so much about him that calluses were growing on their ears. They say that he is skilled in nothing and that he had been misguiding disciples. They say that he doesn't know how to cultivate and he doesn't know martial arts at all. All in all kinds of slander there is. As long as one is a student, it is best to stay as far away as possible from him. Do not mess with this fellow, otherwise going berserk is just a small matter at hand. At worst, they may even die in his hands. When both brothers came to the academy to seek a teacher, they have also heard of such rumors. All along, they have been proceeding carefully but never in their dreams would they imagine that this unworldly and incredible expert is that legendary trash. Teacher, if you are so incredible, why would? Cheng Yang couldn't resist asking. Although it has just been a short period of time since they knew each other, he could tell that the teacher before him had immeasurable capabilities. Every single movement of his has an elegant disposition. How could he be a trash? There are many people in the world who are envious of the talented. This kind of things means nothing at all. Wis 10-0, V, LB, I, N, for the best novel reading experience. Zhang Xuan tilts his eyes upwards 45 degrees as sadness and regret reflect in his eyes, as though lamenting the incomprehension of the world. The emotions on his face are in place, but in his heart, he is scolding vulgarities. If it wasn't for the Library of Heaven's Path, given how the previous owner of the body was, it was already very incredible of him to not get a negative score. 0 marks is already a high score, alright. I am willing to cleanse teacher of his solid reputation. Seeing his teacher's depression and incomprehension of the world, Cheng Yang's heart is moved and he couldn't help but declare so. It's okay, teacher's reputation doesn't matter. As long as you train hard, I would be satisfied. Take the identity token to claim your bedding. Come to class punctually tomorrow, make sure to not be late. After Zhang Xuan's show of acting cool, he seems to have fully captured the worship of the student. Zhang Yang nods his head. Yes. Zhang Yang pulls Mo Xiao, who is standing beside him, and the both of them walks out. 4 students. Seeing the two of them leave, excitement flashes across Zhang Xuan's eyes. The dazed young lady Wang Ying, the student who he won from a bet Liu Yang, the arrogant young mistress Chao Ya and the spear genius Cheng Yang. Initially, he thought that today would be just like how it was before, he would be unable to recruit a single student and the day would end in a failure. He didn't expect that he would manage to recruit 4 of them. Without identity token, even if students were to come, I would be unable to admit new students. I better make use of this free time to get a few more tokens. After getting emotional over recruiting 4 students, does Zhang Xuan realize that he doesn't have any more tokens on him. This item is given out by the academy. Due to his terrible reputation, the teacher in charge of distributing the tokens only gave him 4. He even thought that Zhang Xuan would be unable to use all of it. If he doesn't claim more of it, even if new students were to come, they would be unable to acknowledge him. This token contains the information of the teacher. Once a student claims ownership of the token by dripping a blood drop on it, it means that they acknowledge the teacher as their mentor. On the other hand, if they would like to withdraw from the lesson, the teacher only has drip a blood drop on it and the information of the student would be erased. Standing up, he walks out of the classroom. The sun outside shines brightly and a heat wave assaults through the shade of the tree, causing people to sweat profusely. Freshmen and older students are walking on the pavements of the academy and excitement could be seen on their faces. Coming into a new environment and acknowledging a teacher, the freshmen are overjoyed. On the other hand, upon thinking of the arrival of new students for them to play with, the older students are full of smiles as well. While walking along the pavement, a large infrastructure appears before Zhang Xuan. There are 2 giant words hanging on a board in the center of the building, Logistics Building. The tokens that represent the identity of a teacher are claimed from this building. Yo, who is this? Isn't this our star teacher? For you to not be recruiting students in the classroom to visit me, what do you want? Oh, let me guess, could it be that you used none of the identity tokens, so you are here to return them? Right after walking in, he hears a sarcastic voice sounding out. Zhang Xuan raises his head and a plump man whose face is full of fats comes into view. This fellow at least weighs 300 to 400 kilograms. From afar, he looks like a giant bowl of meat. Qian Biao. A name floats from the depths of his memories. This Qian Biao is one of the teachers in charge of logistics. He is a very spiteful man who always likes to eat into the spare change of others. As the teacher on the lowest level, Zhang Xuan's salary has been minute and the resources he could claim had always been minimal. Thus, he has never been respected by him. Due to this affair, he offended him. The moment they meet, all kinds of sarcasm and insults would come flying out. Previously, Zhang Xuan being given 4 identity tokens under the premise that he wouldn't finish it is the work of this man. I have finished using my identity tokens. I would like to claim a few more of them. Can't be bothered with the other party, Zhang Xuan speaks calmly. Finished using it. Qian Biao stuns for a moment before howling in laughter. Haha, everyone, come and take a look. This teacher who is first from the bottom comes here to brag that he has used up all of his identity tokens. Haha, this is the funniest joke I have heard in the entire world. I seem to recall that you gave him 4 identity tokens back then. Finished it? Him. What a joke. The teacher who is second from the bottom, Sun Yan Laoshi, is said to only have 1 student currently. This fellow who made history by scoring 0 in the teacher qualification examination could accept a single student? What are you trying to brag about? Throw him out. Anyway, after today, he would be fired. Upon hearing Qian Biao's shouting, the few teachers in the logistics branch came rushing over. They stared at Zhang Xuan with looks of disdain. For a teacher who is at the very bottom and scored 0 for the teacher qualification examination, why the hell is he trying to show off? Students would run the instant they hear your name. For them to acknowledge you, what kind of joke is this? Oh, you said that I am bragging? Fine, why don't we bet on it? Zhang Xuan doesn't get mad. Instead, he smiles. Bet? Fine, since you want to lose so badly, I will fulfill your wish. Just that, given how poor you are, I doubt that there is anything you could offer. Qian Biao didn't expect this fellow who he had always looked down on would challenge his authority face on by betting with him. He snickers in disdain. It isn't your problem whether I am poor or not. Since I proposed the bet, of course, I will take out something I am willing to bet on. Zhang Xuan widens his eyes. Oh, you are able to take something out? Given your background, the things you take out would probably just be some rotten metal or similar shit-like things. You think that grandfather I would bet with you? I can't afford to lose my reputation betting with you. Qian Biao states contemptuously. Zhang Xuan is the lowest level teacher in the entire academy, not to mention first from the back. Not mentioning the fact how he is unable to get a single student, he doesn't even have bonuses or so. If one must point out the poorest teacher in the entire academy, it would definitely be him. He lives thriftily even in his daily life, not to mention resources for cultivation. Zhang Xuan isn't bothered by his insults at all. He chuckles and continues, the thing I would like to bet isn't a treasure or an object. It is face. If you were to lose, I will slap you 3 times in front of everyone else. If I were to lose, I will let you slap me 3 times. Do you dare to bet with me? Slapping face. He didn't expect the other party would bet on this. Qian Biao couldn't help but to hesitate over it. To be slapped by the academy's worst teacher, if he were to lose, he wouldn't even feel like living on. He would be so embarrassed that he would want to die. How, do you dare or not? Zhang Xuan smiles at him. Qian Biao, what are you scared of? It's not like you don't know his standards. Can a teacher who scored a 0 in the teacher qualification examination get a single student? Isn't he just dreaming? He is just scaring you. If he is able to recruit them, then won't I have a few hundreds of students by now? Even if the students of this year were to be blind, they wouldn't be blind to such an extent. The other teachers of the logistics branch smirk. None of them believe that Zhang Xuan would be able to recruit students. This is as difficult as a pig climbing up a tree. Fine, I agree. Finding everyone's words logical, he nods his head in agreement. Since the rest of you are cheering so happily, would you all like to make a bet along with me? With the same terms as him. Seeing him agree, Zhang Xuan looks towards the other 3 teachers of the logistics branch. The previous 3 who were so disparaging a moment ago didn't mind adding to the bet since one of them had already agreed to it. Why? Do you find your face itchy that you would like us to slap a few more times? Fine, I'm in. A teacher declares haughtily. I'm also in. Who's afraid of you? To be bragging in front of us despite scoring a 0, you are looking for death? The 3 of them nod their head with a smirk on their face. In their opinion, Zhang Xuan is bound to lose this bet. Today, he would definitely be slapped. Chapter 10, Going Against the Bet. Alright, since you said that you accepted 4 students, bring them here now so that can we verify your claim. Or, you do want to just present your face now for us to slap. Looking at the teacher who is first from the bottom arrogantly betting with the 4 of them, Qian Biao smirks coldly. Bring the students here? Zhang Xuan shakes his head. You are all teachers of the logistics branch, it can't be that you don't even know the simplest thing. It is easy to verify whether I recruited 4 students or not. As long as students were to claim ownership of my token, their personal information will automatically appear in the Education Bureau. As long as we verify it with the Education Bureau, the truth would be clear for all to see. After all, the Education Bureau can't possibly be working with me just to lie to you all. As long as a student had verified his relationship with a teacher, the information would be automatically transmitted to the Education Bureau and recorded. No one would be able to fake the results. Li Yuan, you take a look. I want to see how this fellow could still act so smug after that. After looking at his confident expression and hearing his words, Qian Biao is taken aback for a moment before turning around to command Li Yuan. Li Yuan is one of the teachers who mocked Zhang Xuan previously. Hearing the orders, he turns around and walks out of the logistics branch. The Education Bureau and Logistics branch belong under the Administration branch. It didn't take long for Li Yuan to return with a darkened face. How was it? Looking at the expression on his face, Qian Biao's heart pounds furiously, Ji Dong, as an ominous premonition looms in his head. There is 4 students who acknowledged him as their teachers. These are their names, are personal information. Li Yuan's face turns strikingly pale. Even now, he still finds the fact hard to believe. Are those 4 students blind? Of the many teachers in Hongshan Academy, why did they have to choose a teacher who scored a 0 in the teacher qualification examination, a fellow who doesn't know anything? Let me look at it. Let's make sure that he didn't find some disabled and blind fellows who could be expelled at any time to be his students. Qian Biao grabs the name list. The other 2 teachers hurriedly surround him. There are quite a few teachers who would recruit some inadequate students so as to boost the number of students they have. These people could be expelled at any time. Even if they were kept in the academy at the moment, they probably wouldn't last more than a few months. In Qian Biao's opinion, for a person like Zhang Xuan who ranks at the very bottom, even if he successfully manages to recruit students, he could only recruit the worst of the lot, students whom no one wants. Accepting this kind of students just to fill the numbers doesn't bring the teacher any pride, it brings shame instead. Wang Ying, a female? She doesn't sound like anything by her name. She is probably one of the students who scored the worst in the entrance examination. Looking at the first name on the name list, Qian Biao snorts in disdain. Hongshan Academy is not a place anyone can enter. If one wishes to enroll, they would first have to undergo the entrance examination. Then, the students would be ranked based on their results and those who meets the prerequisites would be accepted. Those who scored the first few in the entrance examination are hot targets for the more outstanding teachers. Each of them is famous in this academy and among them, there doesn't seem to be a student called Wang Ying. Qian Laoshi, continue looking on. Before Qian Biao could finish his words, he hears the trembling voice of one of the teachers beside him. Why? Could she be worse than I have described? With a cold laugh, Qian Biao continues browsing down the list. With just one look, his eyes narrow as he reads the detailed information on Wang Ying below her name. Rank 67 of the entrance examination, younger sister of Wang Tao, an elder's disciple, and the young mistress of one of the 4 great families in Taiyangchuan city. The young mistress of the Wang family? Wang Tao's younger sister. Qian Biao gasps in astonishment. There are 4 great families in Taiyangchuan kingdom and the Wang family is one of it. The young mistress of such an esteemed family acknowledges the fellow who got a 0 for his teacher qualification examination as her teacher? Are you for real? Shouldn't a figure like that go for Lu Xuan or Wang Chao? If her family were the ones who induces fear in him, then what that causes him to fall into despair is Wang Ying's elder brother, Wang Tao. He was enrolled in the academy 2 batches prior and after his enrollment, he has always scored within the top 10 in the annual comprehensive evaluation. This year, an elder in the academy even sets his eyes upon him and accepted him in as his disciple. If the older brother has that kind of talent, how bad could the younger sister be? Having an influential background, talent and a good brother, she still chose to acknowledge this fellow as her teacher? Geet the eldest wails on Novi Elbin, see Om. My eyes must be going blind for it to make such a mistake. Qian Biao could hear lightning rumbling around him and he feels on the verge of fainting. Look at the ones below. Just as he is convulsing in disbelief, another teacher exclaims with a shaky voice. He probably used up all of his luck to be able to admit a Wang Ying in. I don't believe that he would be capable of getting someone even more incredible. Clenching his teeth, Qian Biao continues glancing down the list. When his eyes gaze on that name, his entire body convulses yet again and he feels the sight before him turning dark. Zhaoya? The Zhaoya who is 7th in the entrance examination? The daughter of the city lord of Bayu city. Qian Biao feels like tears are going to stream down from his eyes at any point. He just said that he wouldn't believe that Zhang Xuan would be able to recruit an even more incredible student and never in his dreams would imagine that he was able to. Not only so, it is a popular student whom countless teachers would go crazy for. He has already heard of this Zhaoya before she even enrolled in this academy. She is the daughter of the city lord of Bayu city and not only is she pretty, she is also blessed with great talents. This kind of talent would be competed over by the teachers who rank at the top. Why would she acknowledge such a trash? Impossible, this is impossible. He tries to forcibly suppress his emotions. Glancing downwards, he sees the names, Liu Yang and Cheng Yang. The two may not be very famous, but their rankings are not low in the entrance examinations, scoring within the front 100. Especially, Cheng Yang. It is said that he specializes in the spear. Due to the limitations of the examination, he wasn't able to exert his full strength, causing his ranking to fall behind. If he were to be allowed to use his spear, he might be even able to get into the top 20. Staring at the names of the 4 on the list over and over again, Qian Biao and the other teachers feel like they are going mad. This isn't rational. You must have used some kind of deception to get them to acknowledge you. Even though they acknowledged you as their teacher, they don't know who you are. The moment they find out, they would withdraw from your lessons. Suddenly, Qian Biao howls with a savage expression. What rights does a teacher who scored 0 in the teacher qualification examination have to recruit such outstanding students? He must have used some kind of despicable method which no one knew of. The moment these methods are revealed, these students would abandon him in anger. That is to say, while it is true he has 4 students, these students probably won't follow him for long. They will withdraw from his lessons in a matter of time. It isn't your problem whether they withdraw from my lessons or not. The bet that we decided on was whether I have students now. Now that you all have verified that I have 4 students, shouldn't we be fulfilling the conditions of our bet? Cannot be bothered with the savage-looking quartet whose minds are around the place, Zhang Xuan speaks calmly. Qian Biao, Li Yuan and the other two have expressions on their face that look as though they are in a funeral. The content of their bets was indeed on whether he had students now, and not what would happen in the future. Going by such, they have lost. However, they are unable to accept the fact that they have lost and that they would be slapped by the worst teacher in the academy. Bet? Little fellow, what if we refuse? After a slight hesitation, Qian Biao smirks coldly and a ferocious look appears on his plump face. Indeed, even if we go against our words, what can you do? Haha, do you want to beat us up? The fact is, do you have the ability to? The worst teacher in the academy with the worst cultivation. To be so smug in front of us, do you believe that even if we were to beat you up to the point that your head swells up like a pig head, no one would come to stop us? Stop acting cool and perhaps you could stay in the academy a little longer. Otherwise, it wouldn't take long for you to be kicked out and be shamed. Li Yuan and the others immediately understood Qian Biao's intentions and sneers. Not only did Zhang Xuan fare the worst in the teacher qualification examination, his cultivation is also subpar among all of the teachers. Even if he isn't the very worst, he isn't far from it. That's precisely the reason why he doesn't have the eye to discern the problems in the training of his students. Naturally, Qian Biao and the rest wouldn't be willing to be slapped. Since the other party doesn't possess the strength to enforce the agreement, they intend to go against their words to the end. Oh. That is to say, you all don't intend to follow the rules of the bet. Zhang Xuan isn't angry. Instead, he smiles at them. That's right. You brat, what do you think you are? To think that you would think of slapping me, do you believe that I will slap you to your death right now? Seeing how this fellow doesn't back out and continues acting so smugly, Li Yuan is provoked and immediately sends a slap towards him. Even before the slap reaches, the pressure from the wind causes one to experience shortness of breath. Although this Li Yuan is only a teacher of the logistics branch, his cultivation isn't low. He has already reached the level of a fighter 4 dan advanced. There are 9 dans to a fighter, 1 dan Juxi, 2 dan Danshan, 3 dan Chenki, 4 dan Pigu, 5 dan Bingali, 6 dan Pixu, 7 dan Tongshuan, 8 dan Zongshe, 9 dan Shizun. Another new world appears with every level. The higher you climb, the harder it is for you to progress. In every level, there are 4 tiers, primary, intermediate, advanced and pinnacle. Zhang Xuan is the youngest teacher in the entire academy, being just 19 this year. His cultivation is only at 3 dan Chenki pinnacle. Li Yuan is a level higher than him. The difference between each level is very great and is almost cannot be overcome. Pa! Just when everyone thought that Li Yuan would definitely strike on Zhang Xuan's face, leaving him faint-headed, a sudden crisp sound echo. Everyone immediately sees a red mark on Li Yuan's face as fresh blood spurts out of him and a large bunch of his teeth fall to the floor. How? How is this possible? Everyone stands in their spot dumbfounded and on the verge of going insane.